Greetings. This is Brother Ravana Noon, also known as Darth Ravana Noon. This evening, we will definitely go into Sith sorcery, in particular the 7 statements of a Sith, which is beneficial for those who are seeking to bring realism into the Sith philosophy of what is known as Star Wars. So, being that said, let's get into it and go over it for greater understanding. Now, before I begin this, if you're not aware, I do have a second channel on YouTube. The first channel is the Black Serpent Clan. The second channel is Darth Ravana Noon, which is geared towards particularly discussing all things Sith. That is Sith philosophy, Sith sorcery, things of that nature, for individuals who are serious about practicing the dark side and bringing realism into the Sith lore from the Star Wars saga. It is very easily applicable to real world practices. In particular, the Sith are or would be a part of the left hand path, because Sith believe in self-deification, self-mastery, and self-empowerment and self-development. Their philosophy in its very nature is a left-hand path philosophy. So, for those who are serious about learning more about the Sith and how it actually can be applied to everyday world existence and its relation to the left-hand path, then join or subscribe to my other channel on YouTube, which is Darth Ravana Noon. And we have all the Sith classes that I put up on the Black Serpent Clan are also going to be on Darth Ravana Noon channel, until Darth Ravana Noon channel can be self-sufficient without having to do videos and put them on both channels. So go subscribe to Darth Ravana Noon for those who are interested in bringing realism to the Sith philosophy, Sith sorcery, the Sith path. Let me get into this evening's discussion, which is the 7 statements of the Sith. The path of the Sith is a path of gaining power through understanding the dark side. Understanding the gates to wisdom are unlocked by going into the darkness. Why? Is the question I often receive from people. Why is the darkness so important? Why wouldn't it be? Let me explain why I say that. If we're constantly bombarded with light side, right hand path philosophy doctrines, which I came through, I didn't just walk through it because I was forced and programmed to it. That's a large part of it. But I also went knee deep and even deeper to find out more of what the right hand path mentality is by joining right hand path philosophy organizations or right hand path organizations such as Freemasonry, such as Rosicrucianism, such as the Astara, not to mention Sufism and these things that are related or connected to religion. So if I was marinated, let's say, in the right hand path, then the further you develop yourself within the right hand path, you start to understand there's something missing. And you always will feel this for a lot of individuals who were serious about their spiritual growth on the right hand path. You always felt like something was missing. Well, what was missing is the dark, the shadow. Going into the darkness and bringing consciousness or awareness to your darkness. And understanding the path of darkness, the power that is contained in darkness, and how it relates to your existence. People always talk about being balanced or being complete or a 360-degree perfected individual. That's only half of the equation. Let me explain what I mean. If all you do is study right-hand path philosophy and doctrine, there's a whole nother side of you, and that's the darkness. That's the part, as Carl Jung said, you have to bring consciousness into that darkness. You have to make the darkness conscious. You have to understand the darkness. You have to face your darkness and master your darkness. That is what the Sith do. We go into the darkness to understand ourselves and empower ourselves through the darkness. So the gates to wisdom are unlocked with knowledge. We must seek knowledge in darkness, never failing or falling to the limits of morality or moral opinion or moral teachings that we were programmed or indoctrinated with through our families, through religion, through the educational system, etc., etc., etc. We don't fall for popular consensus, or worst of all, we don't deceive ourselves. That's one of the key statements or key principles of a Sith. Stop deceiving yourself. Stop living a lie. Be yourself in totality. Number 2, only a fool will lie to himself or herself, for in self-deception is the beginning of one's demise. Stop lying to yourself. Some of you all are not nice people, but you're trying to be nice. You're trying to be cool. You're trying to be friendly. You're trying to be all this lovely dubby stuff. That's not you. But you force it because that's what you were taught by society that you had to be. You were taught that you must be nice. Look up the word nice, the etymology of the word, and it's ignorant, foolish, stupid, pertaining to things of that nature. Only a fool will lie to himself or herself. For in self-deception, deceiving who you are, what you are, ignoring those parts of yourself, is the beginning of your own demise. You cannot progress, you cannot find progress if you keep deceiving yourself about yourself. Your progress will be always clouded because you're still deceiving who and what you are. The Sith do not stand for that. We don't believe in our own self-demise. We don't believe in deceiving ourselves. Number 3, a true Sith is a master of the self, and as such knows the responsibility goes to the responsible. A Sith knows that each individual is solely accountable for their actions. We must ever strive to be seen as above reproach. Simply, the path to become a Sith Lord, a Darth, is simply to be a master over self. And to be a master over self, you must become accountable for all your ways and actions. You don't blame your ex for your shitty ass relationship. You take responsibility for your part in a relationship that allowed it to become shitty. You take full responsibility for how you and your actions affected the outcome of that relationship. You take total responsibility for you and only you alone. You're not responsible for their ways and actions. You're not responsible for their behavior. You're only responsible for yours. And as a Sith, you take total responsibility for all your successes and failures. You take total responsibility for your beauty and niceness and kindness and your treachery. You take total responsibility. Stop blaming other people. But we still do it. We always want to externalize. He, she, gods, goddesses, devil, this. Stop it. As a Sith, you realize you are the one master, the one Lord. You are the most powerful in your existence, in your circumference. You are the most powerful. You don't externalize things. You don't blame external. You don't worship anything outside of yourself. There is strength and pleasure and happiness and in joy. The very things that this right-hand path world wants to suppress, they call it your ego, as if you can't enjoy the finer things of life. As if you can't enjoy sensuality. As if you can't enjoy traveling. As if you can't enjoy wealth. That is purely a right-hand path mentality of annihilation of your ego and annihilation of enjoying life. No, as a Sith, we understand. We do not turn away from all which leads to mental, physical, or emotional gratification. You enjoy in totality, but you remain in control still. That means you can love, but you remain in control of your love by realizing if this love is superficial, if this love is infatuation and not really love, if this love is lustful and not really love. You, as a master, as a Sith Lord, as a Darth, are in control of all of that. But you will enjoy in totality and will not listen to the fools who tell you that's not what you should do and how you should do, and no, no, no. Cut that mess out. See, the problem is we listen to other people all the time. We want to be validated outside of ourselves. Stop seeking validation outside of yourself. People cannot validate you. Only you can validate your own existence. As long as we seek validation from others, you will always be disappointed. You will always feel like a failure. Stop it. Stop seeking validation outside of yourself. Number 5. Strong in the Force. Strong in this left-hand path. Strong in this dark side path. Strong in the draconian current. Are those who embrace their passion, really and totally embrace that passion. Stronger still is the Sith who guides those passions as a weapon or tool, calculating its use with the reason and intellect. Something a lot of people seem to be lacking is reasoning skills. Their reason is shot. Their reasoning skills is totally shot. But embrace your passions. You do not have to suppress your passions as you've been taught in religion. Stop it. Embrace those passions, but guide those passions like a well-sharpened sword. And use it to forge new power in your life. Bring forth greater power in your life. You cannot move forward in this life without activating your passion in totality. A person without passion is dull. A person without passion is like a mindless zombie. Just nothing there. It's okay to be passionate. It's okay to fuel your passions as you go forward. But use that passion and forge it into a weapon. A sharpened sword, two-edged sword that is necessary to cut through the bullcrap of life and forge yourself into a new weapon of power, strength, intellect, and self-mastery. Number 6, the quest to acquire knowledge and power must never cease. Never stop seeking knowledge. But let me explain something to you. A misnomer that I constantly hear, but in my own experience, I will address it differently than what it's been commonly known. People will tell you knowledge is power. I will tell you incorrect. Knowledge only becomes power through the application of that knowledge, which leads to wisdom, and wisdom becomes power. Let me say that again. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge that is applied, which leads to the experience, which leads to wisdom, becomes power. Far too often I hear people regurgitate scientists, regurgitate other people's information, and never really apply what they say they're learning. They never practice it in totality, and they lose their rabid minds. These are the people who study every science book imaginable, every New Age philosophy, and then they get a twisted mind and they become a messiah to everybody else. They become your savior. The reason that happens a lot is because these people never applied that information they were studying for any great length of time. And they lost their rabid minds because they got drunk by knowledge and became intoxicated by knowledge to the point that they were seeking power, but never learned to apply that knowledge for any long length of time correctly in totality, which leads to the experience, which leads to wisdom, which then gives you true power. The only constant is change. If you are stuck, if you are stagnant, it could be because you refuse to change. It could be because you're rebelling against change. And change will come into your life whether you want it to or not. It comes in the shape of chaos. All you can do is roll with the chaos and bring your personal order over your personal chaos. That's becoming a master. That's becoming like Sith. That's becoming that individuated consciousness who understands that they have the power to bring order to their chaos. And that chaos does not have to control them. They control the chaos. But they always keep in mind that change is constant and will always come in the shape and form of chaos. So if you're not willing to change, you're stuck. You're stagnant. And you're basically dead. There's no more for you. You're just mentally dead, soon to be physically dead. Which is why, and I did this intentionally because I realized, and I'll use this as a loose example, but I've been a New York Knicks fan all my life. Love the Knicks in totality, but I realize the only constant is change. And if I'm going to be a fan over a team that constantly can't get out of their own way, constantly makes stupid mistakes, will constantly fire coach after not even completing 2 seasons, the owner is stagnant. Management is stagnant. And the Knicks will continue to be stagnant because they are not flowing with change. They're not trying to change in a direction to empower themselves. They just keep repeating the same mistake over and over. I had it. I'm done. I disavow myself as a Knicks fan. I no longer am a Knicks fan. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that because the only constant is change. I'm just using that as an example. And plus, I've been here 18 years in Orlando. I go to Orlando Magic games. I'm now an Orlando Magic fan, and I will embrace that change in totality. And no one can tell me different because I realize these certain mentalities that we get stuck under. Life is fluid. Life is constantly changing. You should be able to change with it. It's all good, though. I'm just using that as an example, so do not get upset. Oh, you showed out the Knicks. You're damn right. After all these years, you're damn right. I woke up and saw the stupidity and said, I'm done with it. But that's just a little side example, just to bring some humor into the process. But yeah, whatever. Number 7. Truth is only relative to the individual. Let me say that again. Truth is only relative to the individual. What is true to me may not be true to you. What you perceive is not how I may perceive things based upon my experiences, my travels, my acquiring of knowledge, and my wisdom. My perception may be totally different than yours. Your perception should expand outside of the restrictions, the boundaries and borders we put on ourselves as you gain more knowledge. If you're gaining more knowledge and become more narrow-minded and more restricted in your beliefs, the hell are you learning then? That's my problem when I was in the conscious community for so many years. I'm like, we're supposed to be getting all this knowledge, but yet we're getting more retarded. We're getting more ignorant because now we're building up new morals and borders that are even stupider than the first ones we had or left. It's just stupidity. So I realized that truth is relative to each individual. And it's based really on you and your experience. I either agree with you or I don't. Don't take it personal. But I don't believe most people that I listen to. I don't believe most people are listened to on YouTube. A lot of them are full of crap. Because I can see that a lot of them never walked the inner circles or the inner teachings of what they're professing to know or who they're quoting or who they're studying and using and learning in the process. They never set foot inside of any of these things. So they just regurgitating information and it keeps going around in circles and y'all sound like a damn bunch of fools. But it's your truth, so I'll let you keep it. Just don't bring it my way, because I'm not going to accept it. I don't accept nothing you conscious people have ever taught me in all the years I was there. Nothing. I have smashed and destroyed everything I ever learned in all these conscious circles. All of it. Done with it. All things told as truth must be questioned and put to test. That's where I'm at. If you tell me it's truth, I'm going to question you. And I'm going to say, okay, according to who, what, where. And if you constantly are telling me something that's true and you're constantly quoting everybody else and never really telling me what you feel, I don't know how true that is. Because you sound like a recording. He who is slow to believe anything is of great wisdom. See, I don't believe mostly anything you guys say in the conscious community. I don't. And then through my experiences, journeys, and travels, going inside the very things you're trying to teach me, walking those paths from the inside, I really don't believe you. Because I'm gaining my own experiences, internal truths. That's what I'm working for and on. My internal truth. Not all this history and science and mathematics. My internal truth is about self and what I must do to master this self here. For one false principle is a weakness to understanding and a fetter to growth. So keep that in mind as you go forward in your journey and your travel. Really keep that in mind. These 7 statements are just that, 7 statements of what the Sith work and hold as principles and guidelines for self-development, self-growth, self-mastery, and empowerment. See, when you start to live this Sith current, the Sith stream, the dark side current, you start to see the fallacies of what the light side and the right hand path have taught. You start to understand what has been missing in your life. You start to understand what being a total and complete self-mastered individual really is. I'm not saying I'm there yet, because I work on me day in, day out. I work on self day in, day out. I'm working on a certain particular current right now that's going to take me even further into self-development and growth. I do not stop. The work never stops. This is why sometimes I will not make videos. This is why sometimes I will not do live classes, because self-development, self-growth, self-mastery is essential. If I'm constantly worrying or building or sharing information with you all, when do I take time for myself? See, this is the problem I have with these YouTube philosophers, these social media gurus. If you're posting memes all day and night, when the hell are you working on yourself? Like, really, dude, you're just regurgitating information that you read somewhere, somehow. I can tell you've not applied anything because you're repeating it just like you heard it from someone else. Where's your understanding of it? And then it just keeps repeating and passing on, and everybody thinks this is the supreme knowledge, and it's not. The only true supreme knowledge, sorry to bust y'all bubbles, is your own truth of who and what you really are, and not the mask you created to exist in the world you live in today. That's the only truth, is you. Everything else is relative to that individual and subjected to scrutiny. Work on mastering yourself. As a Sith, we work day and night to master the self. We empower self. We do numerous of rituals on the dark side to empower self. We use the power of Abaddon, the power of destruction, let's say, not to worship Abaddon, not to bow down and grovel to Abaddon like many fools do who come from the right-hand path, get in the left-hand path, and still have that worshiping mentality. No, you become that destructive power of Abaddon, which is the destructive power of a Sith, which is that of Darth Bane. The path of destruction. Because one of the first things that Darth Bane had to do to become what he became was to destroy that old existence of himself that kept him under slave mentality, doubting himself, when he was a very powerful person, even before he became a Sith, that power was there. But he didn't embrace that in totality and doubted himself. And he began to wake up. When the challenges of life came forward, he started to understand who and what he was. You have to destroy everything you think of who you are today. You have to face yourself and destroy yourself. And this Abaddon ritual came from meditating, doing rituals, where I created this Abaddon ritual from the dome. Not using somebody else's work, not using somebody else's thing. There's nothing wrong with that, because you can apply that. Just put your personal stamp on it, work with it, flow with it, make it personal, more yours. And that is actually doing the work. That is actually applying what you're learning about. And you'll start to understand what the current, draconian current is. You start to understand the current of death. That death current. And how it's essential for you to bring death to who you are today, so that you can transform to who you've always been, just forgot. And to do that, you have to partake in the path of destruction. Destroy all that you think you know, and destroy all that you think you know about yourself, and realize you never really knew your personality. Your true personality. You only knew the personality that was self-created to exist in a world that has always been hell-bent on enslaving you, controlling you from day one. To do that, you better be strong-willed. You better be able to embrace the darkness inside of you and everything that comes with it. This is not a path for the weak or the cowards. The Sith will face themselves through challenges. They will face their weaknesses through challenges. Before they even become a Sith Lord, before they even become an apprentice, they must be an acolyte. They must start at the ground floor. They must begin in the anteroom, being prepared to enter as an apprentice. They must understand what it's like to be blindfolded in the anteroom in the darkness, to go and struggle, to be challenged to the limits. That is what the path of a true Sith is all about. You could claim Sith all you want. You could read books all day and night about the Sith, but until you start to challenge yourself, to bust past your limitations, to bust through your boundaries and borders you've created that you think you need to survive, you ain't doing nothing but just philosophizing, reading a bunch of books and regurgitating it. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself. To the extreme, push yourself. You'll understand the power of what the Sith current is all about. So again, subscribe if you're interested in more Sith information to my Sith channel on YouTube, which is Darth Ravana Noon. And eventually, when that channel takes off on its own, then I won't post any more Sith information on Black Serpent Clan channel. It'll be strictly on the Darth Ravana Noon channel. If you are interested in the Sith classes, which begin with numerous of challenges that tests your mind, your body, and your spirit, then contact me at the Black Serpent Clan. Sign up for the class, and let's begin the challenges. It's not me challenging you. It's you challenging yourself to see your limits and how much willpower you have to bust through those limits, those borders and boundaries, your weaknesses, how much power you really have to overcome those. Those challenges are designed to bring that out of you. So if you're interested, contact me. The Black Serpent Clan at gmail.com. The Black Serpent Clan at gmail.com. Or my Instagram, Black Flame of Sith. Black Flame of Sith is my Instagram. Contact me there if you're interested in a Sith challenge. And subscribe to Darth Ravana Noon channel. Alright? It's been fun, as always. It's been a pleasure. Dark blessings to all.